For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Grizzle. I'm the Director of Entrepreneur Development with ITEN. And welcome to another exciting session of ITEN Second Thursday at Venture Cafe. We have been doing our Second Thursday programming inside Venture Cafe since they arrived in St. Louis in the fall of 2014 and asked us to join them. We've been doing an event called Second Thursday since 2010. It's one of our longest running events, and always featuring speakers and panels that can help entrepreneurs start and launch their businesses and grow their businesses. And this year, the overall theme within our Venture Cafe programming is how to start up. So we have featured everything from early customer discovery processes. In fact, last month, for those of you who were here last month, we had our Eureka validation graduates, they just finished our first cohort of Eureka validation, talk about their customer discovery journey. We really believe in the transparency of the journey and the power of peer learning and all that good stuff. So tonight, we have a couple of exciting guests to talk about even more broadly the resources and the power of collaboration and to serve new entrepreneurs in the region, both within the academic setting and beyond. So as most of you have probably heard, we became a part of Lindenwood University a little over a year ago. So we've been around since 2008, working primarily with tech startups, though as you'll hear in a minute, that'll change slightly. But we've are very excited to have been this last year working inside of Lindenwood University, slowly integrating, doing some neat things in there, and we are excited to continue that as we all move into a more normal world. Hopefully, we will be able to do some other great things that not only allow us to even have more impact on our community entrepreneurs, but also to help educate this next generation of entrepreneurs and be able to more effectively respond to the continual learning that is going to have to happen for the next generation of workforce in our country. So we're going to talk a little bit of all of that tonight. We're going to shove that into a good old 40 minutes. So tonight we are joined by our new Executive Director, Quentin Ortega, who we'll hear from in just a minute. But to kick things off for us tonight, we're welcoming the Dean of the Plaster College of Business and Entrepreneurship at Lindenwood University, our new home, and Molly Hudgins. I'm very excited to hear from her and have been enjoying this past year working very closely with her and the rest of the administration, both at Lindenwood and the faculty and staff and students within the community. So excited to continue to do that. And Molly, I'll let you set the stage, sort of where Lindenwood is thinking right now in this area and why they thought hanging out with us was a good idea.
Sure, thanks, Melissa. I will say this has been a really kind of neat year for me as we've integrated Lindenwood just to learn more and become a part of the great entrepreneurial ecosystem that St. Louis had. I honestly had no idea before this happened how great it really is. So it's been a really neat year despite COVID for us to have the opportunity to learn and do this integration. I think I'm going to actually begin with just a little bit of background. It seems that it always helps for people to kind of understand our approach and the why to this is if we give a little bit of background. And with that, I think I'm going to give kudos to a couple of people. As we literally moved into the pandemic last year, and I mean literally, I think that the meeting that we had on I-10 was the last in-person meeting that we might have had on this campus before we moved into the pandemic. ML Helbig, who I will give a lot of kudos to, sought out a couple of influential leaders in the Lindenwood world. One of them who is on, and both of them may be on this call, but I know Don Tuttle is on this call, who is our chair of the board for Lindenwood University. And then Dr. John Porter, the president, our new president at Lindenwood, and said, I have an opportunity for you that I really think that Lindenwood might want to take advantage of. I will give ML a lot of credit because we were heading into a very difficult time, and I know I-10 was at a difficult time. They had a large grant that they had forever that had slowly dwindled, And this was one of those things of, hey, we really need to find a great partner. And the kudos that I will give to our Lindenwood leadership, that as we were moving into a time that was really, really unknown, and that was for the most part really scary, we took a leap of faith, that we knew no matter what we looked like and what this pandemic brought for us, Lindenwood needed to look different coming out of a pandemic and as we approach the future. And I'm not sure that there are very many universities that would have, taken this chance and this risk at the moment that we took it, but it was the right thing to do, and it has really it's produced good things already, and it's going to produce great things to come. So I will say that, and a little bit of that, take COVID out of it. There is no doubt that higher education in general faces a lot of big challenges. There is a demographic cliff right now that was supposed to hit higher education in about 2026, where there was no doubt we knew enrollments would drop. Your smaller private regional universities may suffer quite a bit from an enrollment decline, and that a university like Lindenwood that has had a strong presence, a strong financial background for the last 25, 30 years, we needed to do something to set ourselves apart. And we're going to do so many more things, but ITEN was probably just the first step in that. We're going, and you will see in July that we roll out this new strategic plan. But our new strategic plan features us doing some things a little bit differently than we've done in the past, and that maybe higher ed is doing in general, to help students pick Lindenwood as a destination because of workforce readiness, of career readiness, of hands-on and lifelong learning. And so honestly, what ITEN brought to the table before we even really embarked on this strategic plan was the chance for us to have a year to integrate someone that has an entity that has a great presence in the St. Louis region already. And so where I will then come back to is when we embarked on this journey with ITEN, I'm not sure that any of us in the room at that moment had exactly the idea of what it meant going forward. We learned and we knew that ITEN had a really big presence in this entrepreneurial ecosystem of Greater St. Louis, but we didn't really know what that meant. We also knew that they provided the piece of education in that ecosystem, taking startups through conceptualization through validation. I'm not sure any of us knew what that meant either. We now get it. It's taken a year, and it has been, as I said before, a great learning year for me, and I think a lot of other pieces at the university. But ITEN plays a really big role in economic development and the education of startups throughout this ecosystem. And that focus on education, providing direction, providing resources for new entrepreneurs, that aligns perfectly with what a university mission is. More importantly, it really aligns perfectly with what Lindenwood's mission is. We're a teaching university, and we pride ourselves in learning, in teaching students. Our mission before and now is real experience, real success, hands-on learning, giving students the ability to practically put into place things that they learn in the classroom. And that mission really aligns perfectly with ITEN's role in that startup community, in that ecosystem. So I will say we're really now excited to get to be a part of the ecosystem. I mentioned before that Lindenwood is rolling out a new strategic plan in July, and I'll be honest with you, the last 6 months we've already put a lot of work into that strategic plan to get it ready. And not just ready to announce, but ready to have some things already in place to implement. And I'm not going to steal any thunder. I can't divulge our secrets of our strategic plan, but I can offer you a few little tidbits that really show how this aligns with what we're doing with ITEN. We have a goal to be the most student-centered, the most learner-centered university in our region, to provide students with the best experience, education, classes, overall student college experience that we can. And I'll be honest with you, ITEN really fits into that. A couple of the pillars that you'll kind of see come out of this plan, one of the big one involves community engagement. And, you know, Lindenwood has not had a history of being this household name in the St. Louis region, or even honestly in the St. Charles region. We hear a lot that we're the best kept secret. People come to campus and go, wow, I didn't even know this existed. We don't want to be a secret anymore. And so this doesn't just mean in the overall big picture, it means in little niche communities as well. And one of the places that I think we have already begun because of our ITEN relationship now is that we're now a member of this entrepreneurial ecosystem that we were never a part of before. And we want that to grow. We want to be the place that hosts events, both in our St. Charles campus across the river this way. We also have a presence in the old post office in downtown St. Louis that in all honesty, before the pandemic was large. It needs to be large again with a whole new population. Hosting events down there, having a part of that ecosystem that spills over from T-Rex and the Cortex, and us having the ability to play, to be a part of that community. So this really opens a community engagement endeavor for us that spans rivers, that is an entire region. In all honesty, it's statewide, it can be nationwide, it can be international. So it's given a chance to have a presence that we've never had before. And then I'll kind of also touch on the fact that our strategic plan involves innovation. It involves career readiness. It involves corporate partnerships. And again, I think ITEN has already opened some doors to us to have conversations about how do we get students involved with startups? How do we become more involved with lifelong learning and lifelong education of individuals, but also involved with corporations who need some lifelong learning and training and development. So it's really giving us the opportunity to extend what education is, and become a part of education in a way that we haven't been I guess a community partner in the past. Finally, I'll leave it, and I'm going to kind of bring this back to student learning and the Plaster School of Business and Entrepreneurship just a little bit. One of the things, I am fortunate to have been named the Dean of the Plaster School of Business in July. And one of the things as I walked in the door that I really had a focus on, I was an entrepreneurial to start my career. I actually, for about my first 15 years at Lindenwood, had a consulting business as well. And my experience as an entrepreneur was great, but I also know that I learned a lot in 15 years. But one of the things that I found out of that we can provide all of our students is an entrepreneurial mindset. So I walked in with a goal in the School of Business to grow the E. And when I say grow the E in the School of Business, it's not just for business students. It's an interdisciplinary approach where every student at Lindenwood can be exposed through an education like ITEN presents, and the opportunities that we can present to all students to grow that entrepreneurial mindset, so that as students approach their first job, their first internship, life in general, they have an entrepreneurial mindset in the way that they approach it, so that we really are making students ready to go out and be prepared for life in general. Those transferable skills that come with entrepreneurship. So I think ITEN has opened so many of those doors, and I'll be honest with you, I've said a lot, but we've really just touched on it. I think there's so much more that we don't know that we can do with it, that we're going to do with it. I will say I'm really excited to invite Quentin into the Lindenwood family as well. He and I have now spent, I don't know, 3 weeks together or so. And again, I've learned a lot from him, and I know we have really big ideas going into the future. So I'll kind of turn it either over to questions, over to Quentin, and let him take it from here as well.
Molly, if you don't mind, let me interrupt you just a second. I have to tell you that I am extremely impressed with your vocabulary from the day we sat down and talked about ITEN a year ago. I've heard words come out of your mouth today that I didn't hear a year ago. So thank you for the research, the education, the knowledge, and certainly the time and effort.
Thanks, Mr. Tuttle. You're right. I've learned a lot of new words, and honestly, it's been a great year to be able to integrate ITEN and all of the new entrepreneurial endeavors that we can do.
Molly's been a great student. The professor has become the student.
Yeah, us entrepreneurs love our lingo for sure. So our acronyms and our lingo and our various words that might mean one thing to us but something else to someone else. So yeah, there is a little bit of a learning curve there. But yeah, thank you, Molly, for that. I mean, I think I'll jump in here and just talk about ITEN for a few minutes. I assume most of you on this call are probably familiar with ITEN. It's been kind of a cornerstone of the St. Louis ecosystem for over the past 13 years. I've been lucky enough to be involved in it for the past approaching 3.5. I was a mentor first, and then an EIR, and then stepping up into the role of executive director about 3 weeks ago, as Molly said. So I'm excited to be a part of it and to be along with Lindenwood, kind of on this journey going forward. And with some of the ideas that I've seen, in their strategic plan and in how they're looking at the education world and workforce education, there's some really exciting stuff coming down the line that I think we can partner on. The other thing is that, and Molly kind of alluded to this too, the good thing about our partnership is that while ITEN is well known in the St. Louis ecosystem, there's a whole world of resources just across the river in St. Charles happening at Lindenwood that is often, I think, forgot about from the St. Louis ecosystem. And so we're hoping to be a little bit of a bridge between the two locations and help grow the region overall by doing so. Some of the big changes I'll touch on, and then we can kind of go into a little bit of Q&A. The biggest one being, everybody in the ecosystem knows ITEN historically has been focused on what we call IT adjacent companies. So companies that were using technology in some capacity. Going forward, we're broadening that up a little bit to allow basically anyone who's innovation focused. So anybody that is solving a problem in a new or innovative way, we want to bring them in and welcome them into some of our education programs, some of our learning, some of the programs that we've had historically, like Mock Angels, but also some of our new programming around Eureka, the Eureka program with ideation and validation that I'll talk about in a few minutes. So anybody that's in that innovation space, we want to be that funnel for the ecosystem. I spent a lot of time the past 3 weeks just reconnecting with people I know at all the organizations around St. Louis. I still have a long list of people to meet with left, but really talking to them about how ITEN wants to be the funnel. If you know somebody that's doing something innovative, that has a great idea, send them our way, because we're going to pull them through some of our programming, and then we're going to push them out to the various resources in the community they need to find. And not just in the St. Louis region. So, one of the silver linings of the pandemic, I guess, if you can say that, is that everyone did move to virtual, right? And so ITEN continued to deliver virtual programming over the past year. And going forward, we're at least going to maintain a hybrid status. And that way, people even outside of the St. Louis region can attend. During the pandemic, we had companies from Indianapolis, Southern Missouri, Mexico attending our programming and learning about these entrepreneurial mindsets. And we want to be sure that we continue to keep those kind of doors open for everybody to be included, both in our region and out, who might not be able to get here physically or have a hard time getting here, one way or another. So opening those doors up regionally is really important to us. And then, as Molly alluded to, we're moving. So those of you who might be familiar with us downtown at the T-Rex, we're moving a couple blocks over to the old post office building. That's actually where Melissa and I are sitting on opposite walls right now from each other. But getting in the space here, we're going to have hopefully a grand opening sometime this fall. So everybody, hopefully by that time, we're having live events again, and we can have everybody come out, see the new space, and show people that we have a space down here where people can come and innovate, and entrepreneurs can spend time. So yeah, with that, I mean, that's a little bit about ITEN. The big picture going forward is, like I said, that focus on innovation over IT. So keeping that in mind, working with our local partners here in the ecosystem to broaden that out. So if you have an idea, whether it's biomedical or IT or manufacturing, we can come through here and experience our programming. I'll talk about that for a quick minute. We actually have programming enrollment open right now for the Eureka Ideation program. which is like I said, online course, taking people through the process of validating or of analyzing their idea, learning about the market and their solution, and letting them do that. So we encourage everybody to apply for that right now. I'm sure Connie can probably post a link in the chat so that you guys can find that if you haven't already seen it in some of our press releases. So with that, I'll hand it over to Melissa again, and we can go from here.
Yeah, no, I was trying to pay attention to make sure you guys covered the things that you wanted to start off with. I think you did an admirable job of touching on that. I wanted to just see if, either one of you can, take this and sort of run with it, but wanted to hear a little bit more about what your thoughts are on how both Lindenwood and ITEN can grow their connections within the corporate community and why that's important in fulfilling I think the vision and mission of both of our entities.
Yeah, I'm happy to dive in there a little bit. First, I think that historically, ITEN has had a really good relationship with corporations around the region, sponsoring both events and programming for our entrepreneurs. And going forward, we're looking to continue that, right? So some of these tools that we're using through the ideation and validation programming, those are being applied now to corporations and their innovation departments. And so we're looking for new partners in that corporate space all the time. So if you work at a company and you have an innovation department, or you want to talk about what that looks like, always happy to have that conversation from ITEN's perspective, because we might be able to do some co-working together there for the entrepreneurs in the region and as well for your company.
Yeah, I think specifically, I would just add on to this, and then I'd love to hear Molly's thoughts on the Lindenwood in general, but with ITEN as well, we've historically, with our corporate innovation program, a couple of the components that we've had and we'll probably continue to do so. They may look a little different, but we've done best practices events where we bring our corporate partners together into sort of a safe space where some of them are sometimes very lonely in their innovation roles in their corporations, but here's an opportunity to get together and really connect with each other. And then we've also had at least a few times a year innovation exchange events. And this year we actually featured the new VP of Strategy and Innovation at Lindenwood, Rod Westerfeld, did some really great sessions on design thinking and breaking that down and talking through how you can implement that within your corporation. And those are all available on our YouTube channel. So if you need to catch up on some of those corporate focused ones or any of our Second Thursday programming, we always record and put it on our YouTube channel, and can always catch up if you can't join us at each one of those. But I think that was another great way that we had an immediate connection with Rob because of being part of Lindenwood, and he was very excited to to participate in these events that we hold for the corporate community, and we'll continue to do so. So Molly, do you want to sort of expand on more broadly?
Sure. I honestly think there's probably 2 or 3 ways that the corporate partnership and our increased relationship with corporate partnerships is really important to us. First, I will say, just from a student perspective, I mentioned real experience, real success, career readiness, and this spans, true corporate into governmental, nonprofit. We really do want our students coming out of Lindenwood with the ability to hit the ground running in a career, and ensuring that our students have the skill set to go into corporate America. For us, relationships with large, small, medium-sized, for-profit, non-for-profit corporate America really gives us the opportunity to tap into, are we preparing our students in the right way? Getting the input from those partners, forming a partnership to say, what can we produce? What do you need our students to look like to be ready to work in your world, in your corporation, is really important to us. So the more relationships that we can form on the corporate side, the more we're going to do for our students, the better we're going to prepare them and make them ready. And in reality, that's what education's all about. That's what higher education's all about. It's about that preparation of a student as they move into the next phase of their life. So I think that's one big key aspect. A second big key aspect is just the sustainability of the university a little bit. I mean, we need those corporate relationships, not only from a student standpoint, but so that we're engaged with our community in the right way. And, you know, we have to find new and innovative ways to generate some revenue streams, and partnerships are going to be huge for us to provide services to corporate entities that may need training and development for some of their employees or their workforce. It may be us providing, again, some type of a symbiotic relationship or the synergy that goes back and forth between a corporation and Lindenwood of economic development, or what we need to do to make our community stronger. So I think there's kind of a couple of pieces where corporations really come into play. And again, we have not had a huge corporate presence in the past, but we are being very intentional to develop those relationships and those partnerships and those synergies so that moving forward, we're preparing our students, but we're also offering the right partnership or the right link between corporate America and Lindenwood. And again, a broad range of corporate America when I say that.
Yeah, and I think also I would add, we've been working closely with the Career Services Office, and Connie's been our spearhead on that, and getting students engaged with not only our startups, but other, getting introduced to our, to corporate partners that we have relationships with, and just getting those students' faces and resumes and names out in front of those organizations. And I think, that can always help when we're trying to tackle potential brain drain, to really get get the students excited about the startups, the companies that are here, and realizing when they graduate, they can stick around and they can be a part of the health of the region. And they don't even know these companies exist sometimes, and these opportunities exist.
Yeah, Melissa, it's funny that you mentioned that. I think when we embarked on this endeavor, and I first mentioned the grow the E and let's create this culture of entrepreneurship at the university, I think the first thing that pops into people's mind is, oh, we're going to give all these students the opportunity to start a business. And in reality, that's not what the grow the E or that entrepreneurial mindset is exactly about. Those opportunities do exist, and we have the ability to provide that support. But there's so much more that I think we can do, integrating students and giving them the opportunity to do those internships in a startup. I have actually learned a lot as I was interviewing to fill the executive director's position. I talked to a wide variety of people, and a couple of people said, the best experience for me was getting my foot in the door in that first initial startup. It wasn't their own startup, it was someone else's, but they started working out that card table in somebody's basement and ended up in a multi-million-dollar company that was sold off. And because they started as a student or as an intern and were with it all the way through, they were able to learn and become the COO of another startup, or they ended up just in as a career, whether it's in capital investment or doing some of the capital analyzation, or now, as Quentin has done, gone from the startup community to leading other startups and being that entrepreneur in residence. I think there's so many opportunities that students don't know about until they really dabble into that community. And this is going to be a really neat opportunity for our students, not just to start their own business or have their own startup, but be a part of that world in general.
Yeah,
one of the things
the other thing I'll say there is that it's just, going forward, the workforce is changing, right? And everybody is their own brand going forward, right? So no matter what your degree is, what your major is, whether you're in college or you're not in college, you still need those entrepreneurial skill sets, right? Because those apply across the board to like representing yourself and what you do and what you can do. The workforce is no longer, I work for the same company my entire career, right? You have to, kind of build the image of what you are. Those are the same kind of techniques and principles that are around entrepreneurship for, everybody. And it's not just business students, right? That need that. That's the other thing that I like to highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I was very thankful for, and, was from the get-go when we first joined with Lindenwood, they really understood the value of not only us and how we can help them, but how allowing us to continue to make impact on the community, and that they knew that that, you know, you guys needed to support us in our work in the community, because that's, I mean, if there's an area to study that you can't just learn in a classroom, entrepreneurship is it, you know, and you get that. So, you know, it was like, we don't want you to stop what you're doing. We want you to, you know, it's the both and. It's, you know, it's helping educate entrepreneurs, but also giving them the direct connection to a broader community, to you know, startups at different stages, of entrepreneurs that have gone through different things. So that was exciting, because there is obviously trepidation when you first come into a new organization. Are they gonna, what do they see? Is their vision gonna align with our vision? What are we gonna have to stop doing that we love doing? And it's just been great from the beginning that we've had sort of alignment. Though and having in common the best kept secret, though, you know, we both need to fix each other's, that's not a good thing to have in common. We're gonna, you know, help each other solve that problem too. But also wanted to, because it has come out a little bit more recently in the news, that we were a part of a grant that was awarded to the city, to the St. Louis Development Corporation, specifically from the EDA Sprint Challenge. Sprint, that specific challenge was CARES money, and so it is tied to helping a region recover from the impact of COVID, but also addressed gaps and potential things that, you know, that have come to light because of COVID. But one thing that's always very exciting about the way EDA supports regions is that they really understand how entrepreneurship and educating entrepreneurs and educating those that want to launch businesses, or, as to Molly's point, want to just think more better and be able to have those mindsets that are going to get them to be able to pivot and adjust and survive, you know, hopefully not another pandemic, but, you know, those things that happen in our lives. So anyway, Quentin, could you talk a little bit about our role in that grant and what we're going to be doing and helping the city to do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as Melissa said, there's a big part of that that grant with SLDC that's about educating and providing entrepreneurial mindset education. And that's really our role in it, right? So those of you who are familiar with ITEN know that last year we rolled out the Lean Stack ideation and validation programs. Those were successful our first run through. And so this program, this grant program, allows us to continue to offer those over the next year and a half. So we have that first session for ideation open right now that I saw Connie post a link for if anyone's interested in learning more about that. But we'll continue to offer that education to everyone that wants it. And again, not just for IT companies, but anyone that has an innovative new idea that needs to be tested, looked at, analyzed. This really gives you the tools of how to do that based on using the Lean Canvas and some other really cool tools that are part of that Lean Stack platform that we've been using for a while now. So definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Even if you're not interested in participating in the program, I would recommend you guys go learn about Lean Stack and what they're doing, and hopefully participate with us in one of these sessions. Yeah,
and I'm very excited, you know, to have this program. We think it's really complementary to many of our other fellow ecosystem builders in the region, you know, from Square One to the I-Core programs to a lot of the accelerator programs, as Quentin pointed out at the beginning. We really see this program, the Eureka program that uses the Lean Stack curriculum, as being that front of the funnel, as being able to help de-risk ideas and business models more quickly and more effectively, and get even stronger companies heading towards the region's accelerators, angel investors, venture capital community, and other funding sources. So
it's definitely part of the funnel. And also, you know, when we found this platform, it was the you know, I've been working with mentoring startups in various capacities for the past 8 or 10 years. And this platform really summarized a lot of the same stuff that I've been saying to them, but in one nice delivered platform and series of workshops. And so it's a really great, a lot of education for somebody who's looking to be an entrepreneur in a very short period of time, for sure.
And if anybody, in the room has questions, feel free to throw those into the chat. And if people want to be added to the list of people that Quentin needs to meet with, it's down to 20 people. I think it was up to 30 this week, knocking them out.
It is.
Today was the day of Brian. I think he had 4 people named Brian that he talked to today. But
I've talked to
the reason I say that,
I've talked to more Brians this week. If there's a Brian on the call, please, I want to meet with you. Clearly,
yeah, this is
Are you looking through it alphabetically? Because I haven't figured out a way to tackle my list yet.
I'm not. I don't know. Maybe conveniently all the Brians just wanted to meet this week. That's no, not alphabetically, but yeah, it seems
we've had a
that
few
every
folks
time
that have direct messaged me that I'm adding to your list. So, but if other folks want to connect, we definitely, as Molly said, we're just starting to scratch the surface on a lot of this stuff, and trying to build on our network, our individual networks, and connect each other to the win-win-win-win situations that we've been finding ever since the day that we first I was gonna say walked in the door, but I sat, we all sat in our respective basements for 400 days.
we sat on our respective.
We have been to campus now, so So I was going to double check and make sure that we covered anything that popped up here, because I think
no, absolutely. And while you're doing that, I mean, I think that going forward, like I said, I'll iterate again. ITEN wants to be that funnel, right? We want to be that collaborator. We want to help all the organizations in the St. Louis region who are already supporting entrepreneurs continue to do so, and do so in a collaborative manner. So, like Melissa said, I've been spending the past couple of weeks here, my first 100 days, let's say, right, just meeting with people and continuing to expand out on what ITEN's relationship has been in the past, what we're doing now. Our expanded focus away from IT, I think, makes us even more collaborative with more people in the region. And so, definitely want to connect with everybody and help however we can to facilitate more entrepreneurs finding these resources, and getting plugged into the right places, because that's what ITEN's done historically, right? We're here to be a director, we create the map every year. I know there's a whole session on that, right? We have our ecosystem map. And so just letting everyone know where to go when they need those resources. That's what we're here for.
And it's on the sidebar of our website. So if any of the links that Connie has thrown in, if you go to the website, you can get to our clickable map. And that takes our galaxy map, the one with all the dots and lines, and puts it into a geographic thing so you can see where all these resources are located. But I would just, one of the goals I wanted to have, for tonight's session is just to make sure that you all as a community, know when to refer folks to us and what's happening. And because I look on see who's participating, I see some of our venture capital members of our venture capital community that I'm sure get a lot of people showing up at their door way too early. Send them our way. We'll whip them into shape and send them back to you when they're a little more de-risked and showing some more traction. Or if it's some of our other partners, whether our friends at SPDC I see on here that are really great partners of ours, but we're always trying to connect people to everything they need to grow themselves as an entrepreneurial thinker, and also to grow their startup, whether it's connecting to each other, connecting to co-working spaces, to other programs that work well alongside our programs, connecting to funding sources, and just excited that we have even more support to do that. And as somebody who I want to say thank you, Lindenwood, for finally, after 23 years, I am using my master's degree in higher education administration. I always thought I'd work at a university my whole life, and it took me a couple of decades to get there, and I'm loving every minute of it.
But here you are.
Looking for those synergies. Those of you who know me know I consider myself a connector. That's what I do for a living, and so just being able to expand the people that we can help, and the ways we can help them, and the connections we can make, makes me excited to get up and serve this region and serve our innovation community. And any other questions for our guests, or anything you wanted us to drill down into more? I see Connie's been crazy on the links. Oh, Jim, huh?
I've got a comment and a question. I've been around the startup community probably for the last, 35, 36 years, from Silicon Valley to Boston, all points in between. And Molly, to one of your points, you know, the administration and the board is particularly interested in getting students through university, educated, getting their degree, and then having some sort of a successful outcome for those students, i.e. a job. I guess I'm a little bit unclear in terms of, you know, how do you define success within ITEN? You're incubating these companies, these entrepreneurs. Help me understand what success means as the outcome for these startup companies. Do they go on to accelerator companies? Do investors invest in those startup companies with any further direction from you know, companies like Capital Innovators and such? So that's my question to you all. What is your definition of success at the end of the day?
Sure.
Well,
I can
go ahead,
answer
Quentin.
that for a little bit. You know, one of the things that we look for, that I historically have always looked for with companies that I work with, is one of the 3 Ps: pivot, persevere, or perish. And all of those are technically successes, meaning if somebody comes to us as an entrepreneur looking for an outcome, and we can help them realize that they need to change where their idea is, or that they need to stop working on it, investing their life savings, that might be a success, right? Stopping working on what you're doing might actually be defined as success in this case. But hopefully they persevere, right? And persevering looks like those things that you were talking about, right? Continuing to direct them on to investment, continuing to show them the way towards bootstrapping or accelerators or other incubators in the region. And those are, you know, I think that as ITEN, we hope to get people through that pivot or perish part, and all those people that persevere, we can pass on to our partners kind of in the ecosystem, right? And help direct, oh, hey, there's a good fit for you over here, or there's a good, you know, mentoring resource for you in this person or at this company. And so success for entrepreneurs looks funny sometimes, because success can be failure in the eyes outward. So, yeah.
I have a
Mr. Tuttle, I
question.
don't know if it was a leading question that you asked, but I do know that Quentin and I are working on a little bit of a project, and you know, Quentin's answer was spot on. But I will also say, to your point, you know, ITEN has really been the education piece, the conceptualization to the validation piece. There is a piece of this grant, and then some of the other ideas that we've talked about both personally and then a little bit with President Porter as well, that maybe there is the next step of what we could do to help some of these that actually do persevere. And I do think that there may be a next chapter in this a little bit, just for some additional support now that we have this Lindenwood partnership, and also some of the backing and what the grant is all about that we're working with as well.
I would just add
I asked the question because I've asked Dr. Porter to come to you all to gather more information for the board, you know, in terms of, you know, what can the board do, you know, to help ITEN succeed over, you know, a period of time. So.
And also, just more specifically, you can't really see it because of my filter, but I'll put it back here by my face. Our impact report is downloadable off of our website too. So we definitely track usually around 120 or so startups will every given year that will report in, and have tracked some definitely over many years. One of the things that we've always had a rolling admission and sort of a build your own experience design. So people have come in at different stages. They've met with, you know, they can pick the mentors from our mentor directory. They can connect with certain programs, and they can, you know, so a lot of the individual entrepreneurs' experiences with ITEN are different, but we track traditional workforce development metrics on those companies, and and we also track the number of hours. We have over 2,300 volunteer hours with mentors gave to our startups last year, and sort of, you know, those program metrics as well as the economic metrics that come from, from our companies growing, launching and growing here and staying here. Yeah, so I think those are a couple of key areas that we, we're focused on as we move forward. I think we'll add some metrics definitely as we are looking at that, being more part of the academic community. We had one comment, question. I wanted you guys to, we touched on this a little bit, and it was kind of what I was thinking when I mentioned how Lindenwood really valued our role in the community from the beginning. But just, we have sort of a history, Jim Bersunas has mentioned, I think most people on here know he's the ITEN's founder. And, ITEN is traditionally, we call ourselves, Switzerland a lot. We definitely are about the entrepreneur first, and it's our, what they need. So here's our programs and other people's programs and these resources, and we sort of build them the roadmap. We have a pathway map. It's another thing you can download off our website. So we've been very much entrepreneur focused. And sometimes when you align with a larger organization, people wonder, are they going to be able to continue to have that kind of impact more broadly, or are they just going to be now only focused on, Lindenwood students and faculty and staff? And so hear a little bit of what.
Yeah, I can probably address that. I just read that question as well. And, one of the things that in all honesty, President Porter and has said from the very beginning is that we don't want ITEN to lose its identity. While this has been a great step for both of us, ITEN needs to continue to be ITEN in that ecosystem, because that's what really made them ITEN. And so, and provides the support that they need. And that includes the universities. I mean, I realize that when we're playing a sport and we're on a court or a field, that universities are extremely competitive, but there is a little bit of a collaboration across the board in higher education as well. And, ITEN providing the support that it may need to, help integrate learning into a classroom at another university in the region, that isn't going to change. That presence, absolutely, we want ITEN to be have the same collaborative role that it's always had.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'll just kind of tag in and say we're thankful for that, right? ITEN has a history of, as Melissa said, helping all those who need it, and it's great that I think we can have this relationship with Lindenwood, and that they, have really understood that and understand the role that ITEN's played historically, and let us continue to do that, while also being a supporter, right? And being someone that we can kind of turn back to and provide some of these thoughts back into the university system on how they can, grow the E, as Molly was leading to earlier.
And I would also just add one more thing to what you said earlier, Quentin, about the EDA grant. I work with SLDC. One of the areas that's always been important to ITEN is the area of DEI, of really making sure that we are reaching out to underserved and underrepresented groups in entrepreneurship, making sure people in all parts of our region that want to learn and grow in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship know where the resources are, going to those communities, working with those entrepreneurs. And I think we can, we were part of launching the Vision Inclusion Symposium. I've been, a founding partner in that effort, and led a lot of things as part of our leadership in the Equity and Entrepreneurship Collective. But this grant with the city also allows us to, to even do that even more, especially as we look at how minority communities were impacted disproportionately because of COVID, and this grant, can kind of help us get into those communities and help people that want to learn and grow as an entrepreneur that maybe haven't had a chance to before. So excited about that opportunity as well.
Absolutely. And I would say, every, the past 3 weeks I've been on calls nonstop, but before that, when I was out, talking to other people, but, every week I would encounter somebody who didn't know that ITEN and these resources and this ecosystem even existed right here in St. Louis. And all of you that are on this call, about this because you're here, right? And so I would challenge everybody on this call to go out and tell somebody. just spread the word. Hey, this exists. Venture Cafe exists. ITEN exists. All these other ESOs exist, because there's still so many people in our region, especially in the DEI communities, right, that we're trying to target here, who just don't even know that these resources exist, and they struggle they're starting their businesses, and then all of a sudden somebody tells them, and they hear about it, and then they're like, all these resources have been sitting here, right? So challenge everybody here to reach out and make sure that you're letting other people, in the community know that we're here and offering the help that we are.
Yeah, so we're coming up on time because we want to be mindful of whether they need this Zoom room for a 5 o'clock session. But if there's any other specific questions, I do see that asking about the community navigator pilot grant that's out there. If we knew about it, yes.
Yeah.
We're working with
we're aware of
lots
that,
of people around the state, and then talking through the EDA. It just has or the Department of Commerce and SBA and EDA have lots of great opportunities to dole out money to help us all do some great things. So yeah, we're working with, thanks to Missouri SourceLink, got us all together on a call this week, and the SLEDP, talking with them. So hopefully we'll be able to even get some more support from the federal different grant programs to move things forward in the region, and excited to be a part of that. So, and then I would just encourage everyone here, follow us on social media. Connie does a great job making sure we're a great resource for everything that's happening around the community. We also curate the St. Louis edition of the Startup Digest, which you can, and all of the things to subscribe to our newsletter and our social media links are down at the bottom of our website. So any of the links that are in the, and find us on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, or where we are active in social. And and we'll follow you back, because we always want to, make more connections that can help our entrepreneurs and our students and faculty. And any other final comments from my esteemed guests?
I'll just say one more time, right? Just remind everybody, because it is new, that the ITEN is innovation now, right? So as you guys are going out and spreading that word, it's not just IT companies, right? And this is the big change. And I think that I want to be sure that the word's getting out there, because there's a lot of other people that can use these resources that we have. And so I just want to make sure that everybody gets that and shares it out as we continue to broaden our scope.
I will just say thank you to everyone that has joined us today. Again, we're really excited to have started on this journey, to have Quentin on board with our team. And I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to meet all of you in person and be a part of more of the ecosystem as we move forward.
Yeah, we'll get this place all gussied up and invite you over for a big party later this year.
So feel free to come to visit
Sounds
campus.
good.
We're here, and we'd love to have everyone come to Lindenwood and visit as well. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely recommend, if you haven't been to Lindenwood's campus, go check it out. It's gorgeous. First time I went out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was there. I'm sad to admit, I was one of those people that Molly talked about that didn't know it was there in the way that it is. And it's really awesome. Yeah.
Well, it's 10 minutes from my house, so it's nice to have an option for a slightly shorter commute, a day or two a week. But thanks you to everybody for being a part of another one of our sessions. Thank you to Molly and to Quentin for sharing their thoughts this afternoon. And we'll see you next month. We are featuring Kara Stone, who is the sponsor of our ecosystem map, but they are also a legal firm and a venture capital, just very active in the venture capital space. So they always have great information and insight on the venture capital arena and the trends and things that they're seeing in the state of Missouri. And so come back next month at 4 o'clock on the second Thursday here at Venture Cafe, and we'll see you then.